All right, everybody, welcome. April 11th, Architecture Review Board meeting, and we've got only a couple of items up on tonight, but one of them's a big one, so that's why everyone here is here. So we're going to get right to it, and if we could, call this meeting to order and do a roll call, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Chair Stein.
I'm here.
Vice Chair Blakemore.
I'm here.
Board Member Johnson.
Here.
Board Member Little.
Here.
Board Member O'Connor.
Present.
Okay, and I'll get this out of the way up front. I try and do that. Any ex parte communications with either project? No. No, see none. Okay, that's out of the way. Public comment on items that are not on our agenda. Does anybody have anything they want to speak to? 500 people here. Okay, that being done, we'll bring it up here. We're going to take matters by staff out of order, if everyone's okay with that on the board. Okay, very good. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we do have two small projects, matters by staff. The first being the 700 Linden project that we all know is nearing completion. There are a couple of minor exterior changes we wanted to run by your board for review and comment, and I think we have the project architect here he is, even physical sample. I do have a quick.
Contractor told me he was gonna make it manageable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Well, you didn't need a wheelchair or anything.
And there's no wind in here, so you're okay there.
So I'll take you through it very quickly. There's really only two items for your board tonight. So we all know the project at 700 Linden. We're getting very near completion of what we call the shell, right? So we don't have the tenant spaces being configured just yet, but wrapping up the exterior, making great progress. And so we have two items for you today. And actually, let me go in and get you mine, and then we've got Michael's plans to review as well. Sorry, my mouth is a little slow. Oh, and of course that's not the right one. That's number 2. Oh, well, you know what? Yeah, we just had your plans, Michael, so we'll walk you through them. So what we have are two changes here from your previous approval. They're fairly minor in scope. Project architect Michael Stroh's here to answer the questions. I'll take you through them very quick. So the project in the interior courtyard has a chimney that was originally going to be finished in a kind of a faux rammed earth look with it's a plaster technique, and seems to be that the plaster contractor would be having problems replicating that look, and Michael can fill in on exactly why. But the design team has come up with what we think is a good solution. So rather than the faux rammed earth plaster look, they're proposing these horizontal natural grain, they're travertine, I think is the material, correct? So these rectangular travertine tiles to kind of replicate that same look. So on the left here is kind of the original conceived concept, and then on the right here would be the replacement tiles, just more efficient and probably more likely to come out the way that the team wants it. And again, here are the locations you see of the chimney in question. Then the other, and we'll come back to these as needed, are in certain elements, and you can see, actually I drove by the other day, and you can kind of see these areas around the exterior of the building where they're not just completed, but you'll see near the openings they have these architectural elements on pretty much each side of the doors as it wraps around. The original idea was like a tongue and groove wood look, and then that got changed with your board's review to this combed plaster effect here with the vertical kind of fluting on it. And Michael can explain more, but that was going to likely be problematic to replicate by the plaster contractor. And so they've come up with a different solution, which is this corrugated metal in the zinc color, of which you have a physical sample of here. So, a simpler, probably more likely to come out exactly as the applicant intended by going to this more traditional metal. It does have a non-glossy matte kind of finish to it, so we thought that was an appropriate substitute. And that's basically all I have. Michael, do you have anything to add?
Certainly. Michael Stroh with DMHA Architects, members of the board. So we are 8 weeks out from the shell being completed, and amazingly, there have been remarkably few changes in that project. The owners have really put their money where their mouth is, as it were, and we've got a lot of really high-quality materials and a lot of really great finishes coming on that project. To the fireplace issue, we had a vendor that was going to be able to do rammed earth precast panels. Unfortunately, they couldn't do it. We tried trying to do, we had 3 different plasters, try rammed earth, and all of it looked like zebra stripes. And so we ended up choosing a large format travertine. They are mitered all at the corners, so we're using a small little Schluter, little black Schluter edging. So I mean, it's just super clean, and the look is actually pretty close to what we were looking for. It's not quite as warm, but travertine is really nice and it ages really well. And then with respect to the original wood siding, and then we came back and said, we're worried about vandalism. We tried. Same 3 plasters. We tried them to do the combed plaster, and a lot of guys can do it, but the issue that we had was we have some irregular shapes with the chevrons, and no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't get the edges. And, all of them said, oh yeah, we can do this, but it just didn't happen. And so we have a really beautiful poured-in-place concrete wall in the middle of the Butler building at the bathrooms, where we actually did a form liner that looks exactly like this, and it came out absolutely beautiful. Precast concrete in that form and that shape was really heavy and really expensive, and we felt that a matte finish metal with a thin variation would be really appropriate for that. It's not shiny, doesn't have glitter in it or any sort of sparkles, and it will be, once it is put up, it's only on the ground floor. And once it's put up, we will coat it with an anti-graffiti coat. So that is the extent of it. I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Any question for Michael?
Well, is the gauge heavy enough to withstand, bicycles running into it and people
Yes,
kicking it? And
actually, yeah. This is 20 gauge.
Dogs.
So yeah, I know a lot of siding is done in 22 or 24. Most of it's 24. We actually made them do 20. And that's what we're putting on. So,
How do you attach it?
it'll be fastened with screws, but the way that our panels are proportioned, there won't be any horizontal seams. So it's just around the perimeter. That's all you'll see.
Okay.
So there'll be screws that'll end up being painted the same as the V groove.
Okay. That was
But the panel's like 3 feet wide, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, but they'll actually fit. So those sides of the chevrons there, they'll actually fit the width, and they will run full height. So we literally are attaching just at the perimeter.
So it's not going to belly out or?
No.
And you have nothing behind it
Yeah.
to back it, because I had the same concern, people just standing there kicking it.
Let's
Oh,
go.
did it.
I mean, all those walls are shear walls. They've all got plywood behind them and everything else.
Yeah, but
No,
that'll dent.
This'll dent. That's what I'm concerned about,
Yeah.
getting beat up looking and
Well, the one thing I can say is that it's a very available product and a whole lot simpler to replace than combed plaster or or the T&G. So
Is this an anodized finish?
yeah, it's a prefab. Oh my God, sorry, lost my train of
Where
thought.
I'm going with it is you're going to put a coating on a coating. So
Yes.
Think that through, will the coating take on the
They, according to the manufacturer, it should. Again, we're gonna run some mock-ups anyway with all the graffiti coating with respect to plaster, metal, wood, all of it, so that we can actually verify that, from a long-term maintenance standpoint, what's the best.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
On the travertine tile, what is the width?
It's only 3/8, but we're doing mitered corners with a tiny little Schluter bead at the miter, and you can actually see some photos there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have, if they were heavier tiles, we probably would do the alternating bond running up, but because they were so thin, didn't make any sense, and so we just went with that little metal bead.
Be more protected too.
Yeah, that's the other reason, so.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
I'm good with,
Think you're good.
yeah.
Think
Okay.
you're good. It's just the denting was what I was thinking
Sure.
about too, and the look.
Certainly.
I guess we could dent the holy panel.
Yeah, make it all look, oh yeah, distressed, the
Just
distressed
age it,
look.
right, pre-aged.
I will leave this here if you really want it.
Well, you have to,
Oh, really?
because, well, technically you're supposed to.
Can you bring your tin snips and give me
Oh,
about
Brian,
like
Brian, here you
this,
go.
this size?
Just go right in your office above your desk.
Yeah, I think we're fine with photograph if you send that to us, and we'll be reviewing it when they're ready for final, and we'll make sure that everything matches up.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, board. Thank you, Michael.
Okay, and now we've
Okay,
got
one
Giovanni's.
more. Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Who going on there?
It's gonna be dented, you know that. Even if it's 20 days.
Okay, anybody from Giovanni's?
Here
All
we are.
right. Aaron?
Well, and who hasn't been in Giovanni's? 1,000 of them.
All right, for the second item for you tonight, I think many of you know that Giovanni's is relocating to the former Good Plow, and actively in that process of getting moved over. And as part of that, we've got a sign. We've got to have a sign. So the item before you today is just your review of the proposed signs. There are two. And then a proposal to do a little roof color band that I'll show you here to kind of, to go with that signage. Existing sign now, the Good Plow sign and former Foster sign there, that ground-mounted sign, that case will remain, no changes to the physical location or the dimensions. The proposal is for the acrylic on both sides with Giovanni's colors and logo. So that's right out front on Carp Ave, internally illuminated just as it is today. And then the other sign would be at the corner there in the little parklet, which actually we just had parklets at council the other day, and this was an example that the director used for a nice looking parklet that we hope to have permanently permitted in the near future. And so the sign would go right in the corner there, be mounted right directly to the wood fence of the parklet, non-illuminated, painted wood, the dimensions you see there. And then the final element is a band along the roof there, and the proposed color is the fire engine red, as you see here, to kind of complement the signs and their existing theme. And that is the end of the item. So again, replacing the existing signs with this new sign copy, new wood sign mounted at the corner there at the patio area, and then the red band. This doesn't, it requires a sign permit for the signs, but nothing for the paint other than your concurrence that we're heading in the right direction there, and this would be a director level approval. And that's what we have for you.
Okay. Questions? Yes, go ahead, Patrick.
On the lighted sign, what's the lumens, and is it the lettering and the background that's illuminated?
The lights are inside. It's like a light box, and it's just like a piece of acrylic, and they just roll out the plastic onto it, and the light will shine through the white parts. So
You know how bright it is?
I honestly, I don't.
And sorry, Board Member O'Connor, I don't have the lumens. It would be the same as was previously approved for Good Plow. Same light element that's in there now.
Got it.
Anyone else? Nope.
This meets all the guidelines.
Yes, consistent with our sign ordinance requirements.
And it's middle school proof, walking by?
Yeah.
Can only hope.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
There's always something.
Yeah.
It's their colors at least.
Yeah, I want everything to be unified, all the same colors, the same red for the sign, the same red for the band, and then a couple accent walls inside with the same color red. Just felt a little sterile. It was all white. Everything is white. It's like a hospital.
Yeah.
But we make pizza.
You make pizza, well,
What's the
make good
schedule?
pizza. But
Yesterday.
Yeah.
We're hoping to be open before the end of the month.
Nice.
I mean, ideally.
Okay,
I'm good with it.
That's fine.
everyone's good.
Thank you very
Onward and
much.
upward. You're welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we'll come
Okay, back to the standard agenda.
Here we are, 1477 Manzanita. Gordon Statler. Gordon, there you are. Uh-oh.
He didn't do that for sympathy.
You won't get it, trust me.
Save that for the big projects.
Yeah.
He literally got kicked by a horse, right? That was the.
Yeah, literally. While I was on my horse, so that was really weird. Hello, Brad.
Hey, Gordon, haven't seen you in a while.
No, how are you?
Good.
Oh,
I'll be like you soon. With crutches. So, yeah.
well, I just found out today I've got to go back and have it redone. They have to put a pin in it because it's healing. So, and I start all over.
All right.
Oh, love those horses.
Yeah, it's the love-hate relationship. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I know that. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have for you a fairly small project, but an important project, located at 1477 Manzanita. The project includes, this is, well, your board's probably familiar with the mix of garage styles in that neighborhood, and we have, I don't know, it's probably 4-to-1 of pitch to flat. This is one of the flat roof residences. So what the applicants come up with is to create a new pitched roof on top of California framed over the existing flat garage, and also adding a clear story dormer element above the main ridge of the residence, and a nice metal roof cover for the existing covered entry. There is an error in the staff report that Gordon corrected me on. At one point, I was under the understanding they were going to propose a new metal to replace the metal roof over the existing rear patio, which wouldn't have been seen anyway, but that's not part of the project scope. So that's in the staff report, but we've removed that from the scope in the presentation.
Okay.
So as I said, new pitch roof over the existing flat roof garage, a new clear story dormer element over the residence, the new metal roof over the existing covered front entry, not going to have replacement metal over the existing permitted covered patio, and then the new eyebrow over the existing garage door that you'll see. I'm sure most of y'all are familiar with the location here in Manzanita Street. We've got, like I say, I kind of counted like 4-to-1, so you can see some of these flat roof garage here kind of spaced out that you can see because of the white, membrane. Existing condition here, obviously garage, clear story element here, and then this is that portion of the roof that extends over the covered entry. How to rotate this, I ran out of real estate here, so north being page up, and then Manzanita Street here, the area of work, over the garage, clear story, and then kind of hard to see in there, the covered porch. This is the main show here. A faux window here, some nice elements, outlookers, thank you, Cindy, struggling for that one. Matching type of eave, lap horizontal siding. The garage roof would be a comp shingle to complement the house in the same color as the main body of the house. Then we have our clear story dormer element here. And again, faux windows, same sort of treatment here in terms of the exterior details. And then that covered entry element here, so replace, go ahead.
Would it be appropriate to, they actually aren't faux,
They're true operating windows?
yes.
Misunderstood. So could you open them?
The upper ones are going to be openable for ventilation.
Like you have like a rod?
A rod,
There you go.
yeah.
But the garage is faux.
No, the garage is real because
No.
what we're doing is, the existing roof's going to stay, that's going to be storage, so it's going to be used
Beautiful.
as space, and so there'll be light in there, and when he's climbing around, we can open those windows and get some air too.
Even better. So again, the proposed windows would match the existing windows on the residence. Just in elevation, what would change? So the resulting height of the residence would increase by approximately a foot due to the new dormer element, fully consistent with our height limits and compatible with the adjacent properties in the neighborhood. Again, matching composition shingles for the roof of the garage, and again, metal for the dormer, metal for the little eyebrow above the garage door. Here on the opposite side, same thing. You can see the little kickers for the eyebrow here, and the dormer, and the resulting roof height. That's approximately a foot taller. Again, just in floor plan view, same elements that we've shown you in site plan and in elevations. Roof plan, pitch roof, where were we? Was it 7 and 12?
7 and 12.
712 on the.
712 on the roof. Metal roof example. Physical sample here for you.
Oh, yeah.
Like to take a look. There you go. Yep. So again, so here's kind of the inspiration image on your right, photograph of the physical sample you see before you. So again, in our previous discussions, when talking about metal roofs, non-shiny, less reflective type of finish being applied to it, and again, complementary in tone to the existing gray-colored composition roof. So it felt like it fit right in. So in summary, the issues for your board today: the proposed architectural style and overall design, the proposed colors, materials, and our new metal roofing material. And that's what I have. Gordon, is there anything that I got wrong besides the things you've already corrected me on?
Oh, you did great. One little minor thing, which is nothing, but I think you said the metal on the dormer, and the dormer doesn't get metal. The comp actually runs up over the top of the
Comp on
Yeah,
the
so
dormer.
The metal is at the pitch
Yeah.
entry and also on the garage. But that's it. You did a great job. I know you guys have a full plate, so no need to expound on it.
Okay, well, I don't think we're going to have to, but go ahead, Patrick.
Standard question for staff, is there any nonconformances that are not addressed?
Board Member O'Connor, no, everything completely conforming, and the patio at the rear even had a permit, which
What?
we were happy to see. Yeah, good job.
just messing with you, but that's okay. All right, well,
Public comment?
public comment on this project? Everyone's nodding their head, yeah, it's okay. Okay, coming back? Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a clarification, is there a dormer in the back of the house?
No.
Just the front of the house?
The front. Just the front. Okay. Anybody? You guys? I think it's a big improvement myself.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
Take the buckets out of my garage now.
Metal roofing.
No, comproof will be.
Well, I like the storage idea. I didn't get that you were gonna, that makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Construction wise, you just come put it on there.
Bro, that's gonna be coming on top.
Okay,
You good?
no big deal.
Okay,
We gotta,
we have
have to do
to,
a
well, this
vote?
is
You
members.
do?
but- oh,
No,
we
this
do.
was an
That's
actual
right.
item where we do need to have.
I beg your pardon, I stand corrected.
Do you need comments?
No comments? No more
Comments,
comments?
comments?
No comment?
Okay, let's vote.
Okay, let's, motion to
I'll
approve.
second.
Patrick? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good
Now
luck.
you're done.
All right,
Thank
Gordon.
you, guys, appreciate it. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
All right.
Alrighty.
Now to the big show.
The city should investigate glare issues, and they do have glare ratings on these metal roofs.
I'm coming back
Where's that?
with some,
Did you see the,
Hope
where's that
Ranch has done a
sample?
lot on that. and
I haven't had a chance to, I was gonna
Oh,
ask
got all
Tony
the way back,
Bonnet
okay.
to.
All right. Now we're looking at 6380 Virial. And this is Cindy. And applicants, come on up, have a seat.
Just give me a second, I gotta get the PowerPoint loaded.
RPG.
Oh, sorry, I should have exited out there.
Okay.
End his show, close his show.
Now, are you guys the new owners or the ones we reviewed since 1999? That was
I was
BlackRock,
before
I think.
you a while ago. We are the new owners, but we came back on the office product real briefly
Okay.
for final.
Yeah, I just didn't know how far this has progressed. Here, there you go. Thank you.
And while Cindy gets her presentation ready to go and hand it over, just kind of a general note for all those in attendance. Today's hearing is going to focus on the architectural aspects of the project, design, site design, colors, materials, landscaping, and the project's compliance with the city's design objectives and policies. We won't be getting into detailed land use matters at this meeting. That'll be reserved for an upcoming Planning Commission meeting, but of course, the public is welcome to provide their comments, but we just did want to lay the groundwork that we won't get into the substance of the land use issues in this format, but that will be coming when the project ultimately goes to the Planning Commission.
Okay, Brian, that was one of my first questions. Usually a project of this size and impact, usually do a joint meeting like we've done with this project from the day one with Planning Commission, ARB, and Council. Why didn't we do it with this?
The applicant chose to apply for the project and move through the city's review process.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
All right.
You ready?
Yes, good evening, Chair Stein, members of the ARB. Tonight, we are going to review the Lagunitas Apartments and Mixed Use Project for preliminary review. So the project site is here on the eastern end of town, north of the freeway. It is this area right here. There's a vicinity map of the neighborhood. Over here is Mark and Cindy Lane and Rose Avenue, the Research Park and light industrial area. LinkedIn's over here. The city-owned property now that was dedicated as part of the original project, which I'll get into in a second, owns this little part here, a little 2.5 acre part dedicated for park uses. And then here's the existing Lagunitas neighborhood, which is comprised of 37 single-family dwellings and then 36 condominium units. And for neighborhood context, we've got extra space storage, which used to be called the storage place here. We've got the Bega campus up here, and then to the north is outside of the city limits as a mix of agriculture and single-family residences, like residential ranchettes. And the basic project information tonight is the site is 8.63 acres in size, and it's zoned MRP, which is our Industrial Research Park Office Research and Development Zone District. 2 R&D office spaces are proposed, one at 3,829 square feet and another at 2,889 square feet. 1 market cafe is proposed, which would be 2,224 square feet. 159 market rate apartments are proposed, studio, 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom. The structures would be comprised of 1 3-story building that would be down by Via Real, and then 5 2-story buildings, which would comprise all of apartments, be comprised completely of apartment units at the north end of the parcel. 301 parking spaces are proposed. 196 of those would be surface parking spaces, and 105 would be provided underground. The maximum building height of 33 feet on the front building, and then an elevator shaft would increase it up to 36 feet, and that's the maximum. Modifications are being requested for the height to exceed our standard 30-foot height limit, to allow 47 of the parking spaces to be considered compact, because we don't have compact in our code, we only have standard sized, and then to allow parking in the front yard setback. And then a conditional use permit is required to allow the use of the market deli in the MRP zone, and then they're proposing conjunctive use of 15 of the parking spaces between the office uses and then residential uses at night, day night. And the project history is this site was originally part of, before the project I'm speaking of, there was a much larger commercial project, which pretty much was abandoned and then restarted with the project that is the current past project, was part of this Lagunitas mixed-use project, another one, that included the Lagunitas neighborhood to the north, the city-owned parcel to the west, and then an 84,550 square foot office building with 340 surface parking spaces approved on this project site. And here's the old site plan for that project. So here's the office buildings. They were separate on the first floor and then connected on the second floor. And then here you can see the parking areas. And then this is that stormwater detention basin, which is still part of the project today. And the prior project's architectural style was also a very contemporary style, similar to what's being proposed for this project. So just so you know, we're going contemporary to contemporary here. And here's the new site plan. So Via Real's over here on the right side. The mountains would be over here on the left side. Here's the stormwater detention basin, which actually had to be expanded to accommodate the extra runoff from this project. So that's getting a little bit bigger. Building 1 is this one here by Via Real. And then buildings 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are the apartment buildings. Here's your street frontage. Just something to point out about the modification that I want you guys to look at. So for the compact spaces, they are proposed in clusters, not interdispersed throughout the site. So there's compact spaces proposed right here in front of along Via Real. And then there's a lot proposed right here along this drive aisle towards the back. Compact parking spaces here, here, and then down here. And then the rest of the parking spaces are just standard spaces. So from a site design standpoint, staff thinks that the compact spaces should be spread out more equally throughout the site. Rather than clustered, because especially here towards the market and deli, if like say at lunchtime, contractors, they all drive trucks, right? Well, they're going to come in here. If this parking lot's full, then where are they going to park? They're going to end up parking in residential spots. So it could be problematic having all the compact spaces so close to the entry point for the whole development right here. And then, so that's food for thought for you guys as we review the project. So, and then as for the site, the overall project is going to require 11,810 cubic yards of cut and 28,710 cubic yards of fill. So over here is Via Real. This is the site section, and then up here is the stormwater basin. So they're proposing pretty much 3 to 4 feet of fill throughout the whole site, with the exception of the excavation for the basement for the underground parking garage. So that it's getting raised up 3 to 4 feet throughout. This is the 3-story building at the front. You can see here the commercial spaces. You can see on this section that they'll actually be double plate height, so they'll be 2 stories in interior height, even though they're actually technically 1 story. And then the 3rd story would be the apartment unit on the very top. So the plates would be taller there. This is a cross section of the 3-story building. You see the garage down below, and then the 1, 2, 3 floors, and then with that layer of fill here and here. And then here's the north end of the property by where it's just the apartment buildings. Again, 2-story elements here and here. There's just happens to be through where the pool is. But you can see that 3 to 4 feet of fill just consistently right here, 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 and there. So it's over the whole site. And for the building 1, which is closest to Via Real, this is the layout for the parking garage, all standard spaces, no compacts down here. And then the first floor, here's Via Real. Here's the Market Cafe. Here's one of the R&D office spaces, and the second R&D office space here. They would all have little patio areas out front, and then the Market Cafe would have a little larger patio area for dining, bike parking, and then the parking modification for the parking in the front yard setback is right here too, right along these in this space here are the parking spots, and then again those compact ones right here. So the commercial part and office buildings would be towards the front, facing the Via Real, which is the preferred for mixed-use development, facing the public street. And then the back would be apartment buildings and with a courtyard configuration. There'd be a clubhouse here, which would also be the leasing office for the mailroom. And then this would be like a little barbecue, outdoor area, maybe have some cornhole set up, that kind of area, just a congregation space for the residents. And the second floor, again, I described how the commercial and office spaces are double high. So nothing for them here for the second floor. And then here's the second floor of apartment units. And then here's the 3rd floor. Again, the rest of them around the courtyard. And then these are the units above the office spaces here and above the market here. And then they all have their little private outdoor terraces as well, some larger than others. And then here's the roof plan. So in building 1, where I say the maximum height is 33 feet, that's over here in this corner. This is the tallest part of the building. We do our average finish grade for our height. So with the way the terrain is, which you'll see a little bit better in the elevations, the average finish grade, the main roof height ends up being 31 and 11 inches above, or 32 feet above the height. So just a smidge over here in this corner, it's the tallest part. These are the screens that are 1.25 feet taller than the rest of the roof. And then here is where the mechanical, elevator shaft mechanical equipment is, which goes up to 36 feet here. So exceeding the 30-foot height limit with this 3-story structure. And here's your elevations. You can see how this grade change here changes the average, right? Because it appears lower here where the Market Cafe is proposed, and then the building gets taller over here. This is the view from Via Real, the south elevation. Up here, down here is the north elevation looking back at the building. This is that courtyard with the leasing office and the clubhouse right here. And these are the east and west elevations. So Via Real would be here. This is the east elevation. Again, you can see how that grade change affects the height, and then you can also see how, it's shorter in the front, taller in the back, visually and realistically. That's the east elevation. West elevation, again, here's Via Real, here's the parking lot, and you're looking back, and here's that 33-foot tall back corner right here. That's the highest point. And then buildings 2 through 6 are only 2 stories with no subterranean parking. And so they have the, building number 2 is here, 3, 4, 5, and 6. They are all slightly just a little bit different, but all the similar architecture, same colors, neutral color palette, and natural stucco with like natural wood material finishes. Again, the courtyard layout, you got the pool in the middle. This is a gym here, and then another clubhouse here, and then little congregation areas here around here. There's a dressing room and a pool equipment building here, or excuse me, shower and dressing room and pool equipment here. And then back here is another little congregation area for the residents. And then parking around the perimeter, and then covered carport parking with solar panels on top. And there's the second floor, which again is all the different apartment units. There's 1-bedroom studios and 2 bedrooms and different models of each of those variations. And then here's the roof plan again. Here's the mechanical screens. Those are also 1.25 feet above the basic roof height of 24 feet is the maximum height of the apartment buildings, and then the 22 feet 9 inches is their average finished grade height. So below our 30-foot height limit. And then here's the elevations. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each individual building because they're very similar. But as you can see, they've got the stucco, they've got the wood accents, they've got the metal screening for the balconies. Here's building 3. Again, they're all just a little bit different, but they all go in same colors and materials, so they blend together quite nicely. Building 5. And then lastly, building 6. And then these are just the single story. Here's the clubhouse. This is the one that's in the courtyard of building 1, the front building. Single story, 12.5 feet tall. Here's the gym elevations here. Again, single story, 12.5 feet tall. Here's the little pool, dressing room, and equipment building. Very simple. I think these are 9 feet tall, if memory serves me right. They're not very tall. And then the clubhouse number 2, which is in the back, the northern courtyard area. Again, 12.5 feet tall, single story, basically an accessory structure. And then we have the carports. They'll have this 9.5 foot max height and solar panels on top. And then we have the bike rooms. They're going to have bike rooms, 2 bike rooms. So those are these. And each one will hold 26 bikes, I believe. And then the trash enclosures. And Marlborough has confirmed, or not Marlborough, excuse me. E.J. Harrison's has confirmed that the sizes and locations of their trash receptacles are okay for collection and size. Well, it can be a problem. And then colors and materials. Here's your palette here. Here's the metal screening for the balconies. Here's the wood accents on the siding is accent siding. The different colors of the stucco. And then the concrete for the walkways and the courtyard areas. And then for the landscaping, it's primarily in general, natives around the perimeter, and then other more ornamental foliage in the centers, and plant palette in the centers. One main comment on the landscaping is with the modification request to allow the parking in the front yard setback. Perhaps do some more like hedges or taller shrub type screening along here, because right now it's just trees with like ground cover and lower plantings along here. So do something to maybe screen the cars from the road. And then here's the landscaping for the buildings 2 through 6. Again, same kind of thing, natives around the perimeter. All the existing trees along Lamita Lane, it's a private road that runs through this property to access the little rural ranchettes up to the north. Those trees would remain and their pathway would remain. And then over here, this area that was restored as part of the Lagunitas residential development. One of the conditions of approval was to restore the area along Lagunitas Creek. So that would remain as is. And then new plantings here, especially around the detention basin, natives in here to blend in with the existing plantings, and then natives up here because it's next to the creek. And the exterior light fixtures, I'm not going to go into big detail here because the cut sheets are in the staff report, as well as the lighting plan for your review in the staff report. But staff's going to want your feedback on if you think these are night sky friendly. From a quick staff glance, we think that they're going to be fine. And I did want to point out these little suspended globes lights here in front of the market. Those are kind of fun. I don't know if you guys saw those in the staff report, but we don't really have those around here anywhere, so something new. And then here's the story pole photo. Ignore that one. I don't know how that one hopped in there. That's something else. Here's the rendering view looking north-northwest from Villa Real. This would be as you're standing on Villa Real looking towards the mountains. Here you'd be like at the entrance to the property looking northeast, again up towards the mountains and towards the industrial R&D park next door. And this would be if you were further up the road, to the entrance road, looking northeast at Building 2, or perhaps if you were like in when that city-owned property gets developed, perhaps standing there looking northeast at the apartment buildings. And here's a photo simulation looking northwest. They're actually mislabeled in the plan set. This one's looking northwest from Villa Real on the other side, as you can see, because the whole street's in front of you. And then here's the mountains. And then photo simulation looking northeast. And again, the mountains and the structure. And then here's the story pole. So this is looking on the corner of the property, at the corner of Villa Real and Lamita Lane. Here's that little trail. Looking at where the market and cafe would be, right here. And this is if you're at the bus stop looking pretty much straight north, pedestrian standpoint. And then this would be like the R&D building here, the other R&D space here, and then this, for the green, is the elevator shaft. And then these lines would be the mechanical screens on top of the roof. And then this is at the current, the driveway apron that's existing off of Villa Real that's bollarded off right now. Like to the entrance, if you're looking, here's again the corner of the R&D office space and the other R&D office space. The cafe is over here, and then it's hard to see in here, but if you look at the back, you can see the roof of the roof line of the apartments back here. So the key objectives and policies. I'm going to take a sip real quick. Okay. The key objectives and policies to pay attention to with this project tonight are Objective CD1, which relates to size, bulk, and scale and the form of buildings and placement on the parcel. Objective CD3, and this one's straight from the Coastal Act, to protect views of the mountains and the sea. Objective CD10, maintaining attractive frontages. CD12 is, fitting nicely and settling into the landscape, not being an abrupt change. open space, recreation, and conservation element policies are objective OSC 6 to preserve the natural environment and qualities of creekways and protect riparian habitat. And keeping in mind that the Lagunitas Creek is right next to this property, and drainage will go in there from the storm drain and metered flow after storms, and any runoff that exceeds the capacities. OSC 13, objective OSC 13 to preserve Carpinteria's visual resources, and then that one is backed up by policy 13H that says plans for development shall minimize cut and fill, and plans that do not minimize cut and fill shall be denied. And then by policy 13I that says design all new development to fit with the site topography and to respect the natural landforms and drainage and the geology and whatnot, and maintain the open space. So tonight, for discussion and feedback items, the site design and the project layout, the architectural style and the materials, the size, height, massing, and scale of the proposed structures in relation to their surroundings, the landscaping the landscaping plant palette, including the native trees, exterior light fixtures and night sky compliance, impacts to public views of the mountains, grading and earthwork quantities, the 3 modification requests, and neighborhood compatibility. And that concludes my presentation.
All righty. Let me straighten my neck out here. Sorry.
They need to reorient the tables, I think.
Really?
I'm Cindy.
She's the city. She's a planner.
She's the planner for the city.
Yeah, she's the lead planner for this project. Okay, questions for staff? Yes, Patrick.
Could staff articulate a bit more about the lot coverage calculations?
Oh, yeah, we're trying new mics here.
Sorry. Could staff articulate a bit more nuance about the lot coverage and the assumptions of what areas are in and not in the lot coverage? Particularly on obviously the boundaries. Just an observation, the story poles are really visible, but you can't tell where the boundaries are. So on the drawings, it's obvious, but not on the story poles. So I'm just curious about lot coverage and what's in and what's out.
So for the building coverage, which relates to the residential component, is 20.2%, which would be 74,493 square feet, and the actual dwellings would be 65,551 square feet of actual dwellings. So the total is larger. That's not because it's multiple stories, right? So the footprint's smaller than the total overall square footage. So for the whole thing, you could look at 20.2% of building coverage.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Sort of. I'll think about how to articulate it better and come back.
Well, is there a FAR, in other words, floor area ratio to the site for the total project?
Yeah. Well, the maximum allowed is 40%.
47?
40.
4-0.
Yeah, I guess where I'm going, just to give the context, is it's a mixed-use project. We've considered a couple of those. It's a mixed-use project. We've considered a couple of those lately, and lot coverage gets a little murky when you're thinking about the commercial component and the residential component and what's included. It feels like we're making the assumption in the lot coverage that it's all commercial, and we're going to use those guidelines. And I'm not sure that's true, and I'm just trying to get the sense of what's in and what's out.
The total lot coverage in this one is allowed to be up to 40%, and this project's coming in at 20.2%. And then the residential component of that is at 17.8% of lot coverage. So, and the maximum allowed for the dwellings in a mixed use is 30%. So this project is below both of those maximums.
Okay.
And if it's helpful, Board Member O'Connor, on the second page, It's kind of way over in the upper left. They've got the project data table where they've got it broken out, and then lot coverage next to that.
And then they have also, yeah, that's a comparison of the old project and the current project also at the top center of page G002. And then on page 3 of the staff report, in the table, the summary table, it's listed there too.
Yeah. It's easier to read.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Did we have the 4 feet of fill on the previous projects that were proposed for this parcel? I don't remember that.
That is an excellent question, and I don't know.
Okay. That's a fair answer.
I know there was some cut and fill, but I can't recall. I don't think it was this much.
Yeah.
Could you please repeat the questions, because I think some of us cannot.
Was the,
We have a microphone here. The question was, the previous, I don't need that. I got 3 sons, trust me. The question was, the previous commercial building that was proposed for that, was that gonna bring in a lot of cut and fill like this? You want me to repeat it? Thank you. Now go to your room. So, no. Okay, try, but I kind of, so just yell at us, okay?
well, the answer is we don't know, so
Oh, yeah, that was the
it's a
answer.
mute question.
Yeah, we don't know, so we're gonna look into that as well. Okay, anyone else? None? We'll bring it to the applicants, and you guys can take it away.
Excellent. Well, good evening, Chair Stein, fellow board members. My name is Troy White. I'm with, and are we getting the, hold on one moment here.
Getcha.
We'll get our PowerPoint up.
I'm turning. My
Yeah.
neck can't take it, sorry. Oh, wrong glasses, too.
You got a hard copy. too.
Phil, if I remember correctly, I think that's Phil on the steps down.
All right, ready?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all right, excellent. All right, well, my name's Troy White. I'm with TW Land Planning and Development. I'm the principal planner for the project. We're very excited to be before you today. We'd like to thank staff for their excellent presentation. They've been great to work with. Before we begin our formal design presentation, I want to share some additional background information and project highlights with you, particularly since we have some neighbors in the room and we've tried to get an audience with them, and tonight's the audience, I suppose. So our client, RPG Carpinteria LLC, first acquired the property in late December 2021. Coming out of COVID-19, it appeared that returning to the office was going to be a big thing. We proceeded with the preparation of building plans for our original office project, and we're very close to permit issuance. In fact, we were before this body for final ARB, some time ago. Less than a year later, by late summer, fall of 2022, it became abundantly apparent that the office market was not going to come back, and financing for these projects was non-existent. At the same time, we saw at both the local and state level, it became abundantly apparent that the office market was not, that the lack of housing production, which we all know has been an issue for several decades, had finally caught up with us and now is a full-on crisis. We met with the city planning staff at the time to talk about alternative use other than office. The city encouraged us to move forward with housing, either in the form of mixed use under existing zoning or as a standalone multifamily project under the city's proposed R overlay, which would have required a minimum density of 20 units per acre, which would have been a minimum of 172 units. We studied various site densities allowable under the R overlay in state law at much greater densities, but felt that a more modest project with a little over 18 units per acre would better complement the site as well as the neighborhood. We also felt that the PROS project would also achieve our vision to provide a first-class residential apartment experience with ample open space, beautiful drought-tolerant landscaping, and resort-level amenities. The project is intended to provide housing for those who are already here in the community, including the employees of businesses working in the business park which surrounds us. Our project will eliminate long commutes into the area and will encourage walking and biking to work. We also have a bus stop right in front of the project, which will make use of mass transit especially enticing. Given the lack of any dining retail establishments on this side of town, we think the proposed deli market, supported by the small amount of office and R&D space, will really activate this portion of the site in Villa Real and will be a community asset. It is our hope that through successful infill projects like our own, that the pressure to rezone properties outside of Carpinteria's urban-rural boundary, its ag, will be minimized. We look forward to working with you on this exciting project. And now, next slide. So here's a quick outline of our design presentation. We'll supplement the information that Ms. Souter has provided and follow up with comments and questions from your board. Next slide. Briefly, our team consists of the applicant owner, RPG Carpinteria LLC, Mr. Steve Leonard, myself and Freddie Carrillo with TW Land Planning and Development, Mark Kirkhart and Melissa Turner with Design Arc, our architects, Scott Capps, EPT Design, landscape architect, and Jason Gotsis and Bruce Jones, civil engineers with Ashland Vance. I'd now like to turn over the presentation to the architect, Mark Kirkhart, to explain the project design in greater detail.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Kirkhart, Principal of Design Arc Architects. Staff did a real nice job of completely giving you an overall background of the project, so I'm not going to repeat all that. I just want to kind of give you a few of the highlights that we took into account when we were addressing the design of this project. So the site is fairly constrained in terms of the surroundings. We have the private driveway to the east, which is, by the way, we read through a lot of the comments from other neighbors. That is going to remain absolutely private. We're not using that for any access whatsoever, other than two gates for the fire department and for emergencies only. So there will not be any traffic from our project going onto that street. You can see the large piece to the far north there, which is the drainage basin, which is going to be somewhat enlarged with our project. Crisscrossing the site in the middle, that X there, that's a storm drain line and the sewer line that go through our property. So we had to work around those with our design. And the civil engineer is going to be here to talk a little bit about the necessity for the fill, which has to do with getting the fall that's necessary and the pipe coverage to those locations. If you're familiar with the site, it is actually quite in a hole, if you will. When you drive by on Villa Real, the existing level of the site is quite a ways below Villa Real. And so our intent was to raise the property, particularly on the on the easterly corner there, the southeasterly corner, for the deli and grocery store, convenience store, so that it would have visibility from Cali Real. Villa Real, I'm sorry. Getting my Caliers and Villas mixed up, sorry. So the parking in front there, however, does continue to be depressed. We've kept that below the level of the street so that it can be screened with landscaping, which we'll show you a little bit, some other views in a moment. So you actually pull in, that driveway that slopes down to that is going about as steep as it can get, 5%, so it's still ADA accessible. So the parking area remains depressed from the street. And then we've actually have steps and a ramp to get handicap up to the level of the patio, which is right across from the bus stop. So we have tried quite a bit to push the building down as much as we could. And as staff mentioned, we have basically two different typologies for this project. We recognize that the residential neighbors, to the north and to the west, and so we wanted to keep the rear part, the northerly part of our project, a maximum of 2 stories. So those are conventional 2-story garden apartment, walk up, no elevators, just stairways to the second floors. And so the taller building, slightly taller building on the south is the mixed-use building with a full level of subterranean parking. And that, as staff covered, it is really just shy of 32 feet. The reason that we were asking for the extra height is because these units skew fairly small. The average square footage is average square feet of all the units combined, I think, is a little under 800 square feet. So we wanted to have 9-foot ceilings for those residential units because they're relatively small units. And so that's what's causing us to need that slight addition of height for that front building only, not for the rear building, which is far below the 30-foot height limit. The other thing that we're pretty proud of in terms of the siting of this project is the fact that all of these residential units are organized around this central courtyard that actually joins between building 1 and the balance of the 2-story walk-ups on the northern end of the site. And that kind of courtyard holds all of the site amenities, and we really feel that the idea here is that this is going to be a resort level of amenity. Lots of activities for the residents here between a gym, the pool, outside barbecue areas, areas to congregate, grassy areas, places to walk their dog and so forth. So we feel that is going to make for a very successful component of the project, to have it really all organized around a nice, generous open space. And as has been stated with the numbers that have been quoted, we're well below the maximum building coverage and well above the open space. That's the minimum required open space. The last thing, in terms of the height, this is the back corner of the 3-story building. The red line, this dotted line on there, is really showing what the level of the roof, and it's not all at that height of 3111. There's a step there so that the living rooms actually have a slightly higher ceiling. So there's some undulation in that. It's not just a straight line. And also what you can't see in this drawing is hard to visualize. You can see the deep shadows, but those are very deep overhangs that come out and cover the second floor courtyard, or patios in this case, or terraces on the second floor and patios on the ground floor, which, by the way, are not included in the open space calculations. So the private open space is in addition to the common area open space, which is also far in excess of the minimum required. Also, what shows in this slide is that if you take the elevation via Real, the building height is really 28 to 29 feet above the sidewalk level of the public street in front. So this really kind of shows you how the site is really depressed from even with the fill, it's still depressed from the height of the road. Actually, I think the issue is they built the road too high, not that the site is too low. I think we're going to have Jason Gotsis, the civil engineer, is going to give you a little information on the fill. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jason Gotsis. I'm with the civil engineering team from Ashley and Vance. And as Mr. Kirkhart described, one of the reasons for the fill was bringing it up relative to the road. As far as requiring the fill was also necessary to facilitate the gravity storm drain and sewer lines that are connecting to the existing main trunks that are going through the property. And in addition, you will have other looping utilities, such as non-gravity lines, such as the water line, which requires a 3-foot minimum cover that has to be in between those gravity mains and the proposed surface. As far as the stormwater, we're meeting the Tier 4 requirements per the City of Carpinteria's stormwater management plan, MS4 permit, with 2 sets of chambers on either side, and that will treat and retain the 95th percentile storm. Oh, the basin. Yeah, so the basin to the north, again, is being enlarged to attenuate the 2 through 100-year storm. So the post-project flow matches the pre-project. And that's it for the civil engineering.
The chambers, how does that factor with the grading quantities? Is that deducted from your grading quantity? I mean, that's a big, sorry. The stormwater
That's not on. There you go.
The stormwater detention chambers, the chambers that you're putting in there, how does that interact with your grading calculations?
It would
for cut and
reduce,
fill?
yeah, if it was gross, it would
that
reduce
the current numbers that we're looking at.
I'd have
are
to go
those
back
factored
and
in
look
or
at
not?
it, but it would be a negligible sway. And the one thing with
it
the
looks pretty
chambers,
big.
yeah, and the chambers, they don't, have an impact on the landform, whether they're there or not.
But just in terms of our overall quantities, it would.
It should, yeah, it should
impact.
decrease it, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to next turn over to our landscape architect.
Just one other quick question for the engineer. Actually, two questions. You mentioned the mainline sewer, that's already on the property?
Yes,
So you're just accommodating that level?
correct, yeah.
And second is all the power buried? Any additional power that you're bringing into the project, it's all buried?
At this point, my understanding that all dry utilities would be underground.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Scott Capps. I'm the project landscape architect with EPT Design. This first concept diagram really starts to speak to the variety of open space and amenities found on the project. As staff did such a great job explaining, the public face of the project shown on the right in light blue. We are proposing outdoor spaces for the commercial use as well as outdoor gathering and dining for the cafe and deli. As you move into the central part of the project, the residential gardens shown in orange. Really, as the architect pointed out, all of our amenity spaces are located along a central axis, really just to promote residents to get out, be active, use these spaces. I'll get into kind of specifics as we get to the enlarged plans here in a second. And on the perimeter of the project, as the architect mentioned, all of the existing plant material along Lamita Lane would remain, and we would be looking to enhance the screening along the edges of our project with more native plantings, and specifically on the north end, the existing trail and native plantings would also remain. The only improvements back here would be to enhance planting with the enlargement of the detention basin. So looking at our plan enlargements, you can see the cafe in the upper right-hand part of the plan. The number 2, that's indicating just outdoor open space for the public for, variety of seating, gathering, dining. We're proposing some large shade trees out there as well. As the team has mentioned, the parking along Via Real is depressed from the street. And we could further screen this with, larger trees as well as layered planting and shrub material. Moving into the center of the project into the residential courtyard, you can see there by number 3, the leasing and amenity building. This spills out into a lawn panel for kind of passive recreation gathering, as well as some barbecue counters, outdoor dining, and potentially some fire pits. Moving north to the other buildings on site, we have our pool centrally located between the fitness and amenity building. Similar to the south side, we have outdoor dining, barbecues, gathering spaces, as well as some smaller lounge spaces for relaxing on the further north end of the site. And I wanted to point out, how this design is really organized around all of these open spaces. You can start to see a network of walkways that would be meandering through, a mix of native, regionally appropriate plant material throughout the site. And moving to the north side, you can see the detention basin. The lighter green in the plan is essentially showing all of the existing planting to remain, as well as the trail and gathering node back there that is existing. That would be to remain as well. Really, the only improvements would be to enhance the native planting that's back there with more native planting. This last slide starts to give some character to what we're thinking with the initial plant palette, the upper right being kind of a treatment for the edges of the project, so very much more native heavy, taking cues from, Central Coast plant communities, the adjacent open space, with the residential gardens maybe utilizing more ornamental, regionally appropriate plant material throughout.
Okay. All right, then we'll turn it back to our architect to close up.
Just to wrap up here, we've got about a 3-minute flyby video of the project. I think that we really see this as a great tool for people that can't really visualize something by looking at a two-dimensional elevation drawing. So I think you can see even with this, how the cars are depressed from the street level. This is basically you're running west on Via Real, dropping down into the driveway here. So this is the parking for the commercial. And on the left-hand side, you can see the double height spaces with these R&D spaces would also have patios out in front where they could have breakout meetings and so forth. And up above, on the third level there, those are very deep covered patios for the residents. And as we go towards the Cafe Deli, you can see we've got a ramp and steps up to the patio area, trying to get this so that it has some visibility from the street. Second one is going through some of the common areas. This is the first courtyard in Building 1. Whoop. What happened there? Pushed a button, sorry. Sorry about that. Advance. So yeah, this is the open space in Building Number 1 with a lounge there, and then it at the next space, these are one-story buildings, as you can see on the left. It's a leasing office. You cross the street. This is a street that has the utilities going under it. And you move into the courtyard on the northerly part of the project with a fitness room on the left. And we think the scale between these two-story buildings and this open space is very appropriate. It's running north-south, so it's always going to get good sun, good light down in there. Here's the pool area. You can see the private patios on the second floor that are also covered. And then as we move north, there's another lounge area with barbecues, areas for outside dining. And even further north, there's more open space for gathering, casual gathering. We're going to make one turn and go back, and so you can see what it looks like from the street side or from the driveway side. But I think it's pretty obvious from these views that there's a lot of activity opportunities for the residents. You see the one-story carports. Those all have solar collectors on top of them. So this is the perimeter driveway with the residences on the left, with the same patios on the ground floor and second floor decks. We have two bike storage facilities, secure bike storage on the site, 28 bicycles in each, one on the east and the west exposure around the perimeter, which is what this small little building here is on the right. And then we'll have gates out to the common area open space. And so we're having a combination of hedges and solid walls at the back of the carports to control both noise and headlights from shining into the adjacent neighborhood. So that's the balance of our presentation, and here to answer any questions.
Okay, so that's it. All right.
Toto.
What would be the, I guess, east-west distance?
In the
Oh.
microphone.
I don't want to yell for you anymore.
I was loud enough. What's the east-west dimension average between the second building there in that courtyard
In
area?
that courtyard?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're like 70 feet, 60 to 70 feet.
And your buildings are about 24 feet on either side.
So it's nearly a 2-to-1.
Open feeling to it.
And the open space runs north-south, which makes it very good. Even in the short days in the wintertime, in the middle of the day, you're going to have sun going down into that courtyard because it's running north-south.
Right. Oh, what's the parking ratio?
1.6.
1.6 per unit.
It goes up to 2 spaces on nights and
Goes up to 2 spaces on what?
nights and weekends.
On nights and weekends. We have a traffic study, or parking study that we have done that has not been presented here, that actually shows the kind of the shared parking use because of the commercial that is not used in the evenings and weekends and so forth. So it's a little bit fungible, but that will be presented to the planning commission.
Thank you. The city let you get by with that?
We'll find
The
out.
shared use.
It's a shared use, yeah. What do you call it, conjugal use?
Conjunctive.
Conjunctive use. Conjugal. That'd be good, that's a conjugal use, that's what,
Conjunctive.
faux pas, Freudian slip, sorry.
Patrick, that's all right.
Couple of questions about the, about the open space assumptions, and then I'm going to pull on the thread of lot coverage again.
You got it a little louder.
So I want to talk about about the open space assumptions and then pull on that lot coverage thread again. The staff report talks about, the practical use of open space. And I think there's a couple of pretty large areas, the retention and the creek, buffer areas. Are those considered usable in your view of what is open space? And is that square footage part of the lot coverage calculations, which is back to the original question for staff?
So to answer your last question first, yes, that open space is, all the open space for the, along the creek bank and for the detention basin is included as open space, whether it's usable or not. We can't actually occupy the area down in the detention basin, but it is part of the calculation.
So it's part of the open space calculation.
Yes.
Is it also part of the lot coverage calculation?
Yes.
What about Lamina Lane? Is it part of open space?
We'll get you in a second there.
Almost there.
They can use, excuse me, they can use the retention basin and the creek setback as part of their open space calculations? Sure.
It is open space.
Yes.
Yeah,
The city allows that in their calculations. I understand what Patrick's saying, but I didn't think those were actually used in their calculations.
Right.
Okay, so when you have the mixed-use development and you're not in like the PRD zone where we have the common open space requirement, I think that's what you're thinking of, where it actually has to be functional open space.
Correct.
So when you're doing the mixed use like this, and I alluded to this in the staff report as well. So yes, on the face of things, they're common open space, which does include the basin and then that 50-foot buffer area along the creek, which is, I don't want to say it's protected, but it's not allowed to be developed. But the trails run through there. It's like recreation only, right? So the requirement is 20%. That's the minimum. The project, including those spaces, is at 29.7%. So with the numbers, they exceed the open space requirement. However, when you start looking at those open spaces, what's actually going to be functional open space, like for kids to go play or, have a good dog run or anything like that, the functional open space, which is what we would look at if it was a PRD zone project, is well below that 20% minimum.
That's what I thought. Okay. And I think that's what you were alluding to as well.
Yep.
Okay.
More than an illusion. Very direct.
Okay. Amy, any questions? Richard?
The one question I had is in reference to kind of the,
We need to be closer, sorry.
You gotta put it right in front of you.
Yeah. Otherwise, it feeds back if we turn
okay,
them up to
in
the-
relationship to the corridors of the walkways, one of the measurements here, it shows that there's a 6-foot walkways and corridors. Is that correct?
I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
I'm on A113.
Yes.
So the 6-foot on the corridors, okay.
Yeah, that's an interior corridor, yes, 6 feet.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
I can't pull this any closer.
Okay. So I just noted that we were paying special attention to the ceiling heights in the units because the proportions of the units themselves were fairly small. Who's in control of how big the units are? Because it seems like we could design them maybe to be a bit bigger for people.
So, we're trying to create a variety of different spaces, right? And so, we've got studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. So, there will be some smaller units and there'll be some larger units. So, there'll be different price points for each of those. And so we're trying to accommodate the broad spectrum of, that from those in the community that might want to live here.
Trying to hit a magic number, is that?
I don't know what magic number is, but yeah, we're trying to hit, all spectrum of the market.
Okay, now originally this was already approved for a commercial develop. Can you hear me in the back? Sorry.
Yes.
I'm subsidizing here. Commercial development, and now we're going back to the residential on this side, adding that. And again, the way it's zoned and what we would require for open space would be two different things. So now we're kind of fudging with the numbers. And alluding to what Amy was saying, the number of units, in my opinion, is quite excessive compared to, did I hear you right in the beginning that staff actually suggested? No, don't, please, no. Really, we got decorum in here. These are the applicants. Let's treat them with respect, just like I would treat all of you. Please. No, the question I've got, staff suggested you might look at residential versus following through with the commercial? That's what it was said in the beginning of this?
Yeah, so we're here before you for a mixed-use project. So the office project is off the table. As I explained at the outset, we tried to build that. We went to the banks, and you see there's quite a few vacancies already in that area. So the market for large office space in Carpinteria unfortunately doesn't exist. And actually the financing wasn't available nationwide. So we're really moving forward with a mixed-use project with residential being the core component.
Okay, and again, that's one of the things, at the time when this first came in, we suggested going to a residential component on one side of Lagunitas Creek, the commercial on the other, and for jobs, housing balance. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but last week, now they're saying 60% of the workforce is coming back, and all companies are going to start requiring employees to come back. So to me, the office space is going to be coming back, maybe not as fast as you like, but I understand the residential component. And this is also market rate housing. This isn't what the state is looking for, the city is looking for. We're looking more at long-term, low-income inclusive housing included in this. So again, the benefit for the community, and that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around, the benefit for the community, to me, we've got more of a need coming forward with commercial space, and we also have it with the housing, but that's not realistic either due to the cost of real estate here. And I know that whether we're going to expand into the county ag or not, that's out of our jurisdiction. The county is doing that whether we like it or not, and quite frankly, we don't like it. At least that's what I've heard. So, but that's out of our hands. So I can see if you're looking at some type of mixed use, that could be a possibility. But again, I think the numbers are excessive in that size. Honestly, I like the look of the design. It's
Mr. Chair, should we make sure we get our public comments in before deliberations?
I'm just asking what their opinion is going to be, if they're going to go back to it or not.
And we will get, this is perfectly
Okay.
timed, because one of the items in Cindy's staff report in the comments, page 8, and into page 9, we're looking for your comments on compliance with the mixed-use development standards and findings. So
Okay.
this might be a perfect dovetail when you get there to answer, see if we can get some answers to that question.
Perfect. Okay, I appreciate that. All right, then I'll hold my comments and questions till after the public comment. Thank you.
Well, what was the derivation of the unit count as being presented today?
I'm sorry,
Who determined it, and is it part of the state mandate for additional housing in California, or what's the whole deal here?
Yeah, this is not a state density bonus project, or this is market rate, and it's the applicant-driven proposal for what they think is the appropriate number of units.
There is state law, of course, that says if there's a reduction in the amount of units, then it has to make certain findings, which are pretty onerous. So ultimately, we took a look at state law when you're getting 20 to 30 40, 50, 60 units per acre. And we felt like a smaller unit count with all the open space and amenities that meshes with the existing zoning was the appropriate way to go for the site. So we really shifted that density down to a number that we thought worked for the community, and we certainly hope you'll agree. So thank you so much.
Okay, we'll just start with public hearing.
Okay. We've got a few. So the first one here, this is a representative from the
Over, because I think that'll cover a lot of. I think you're right, okay.
And then, Mr. Chair, just,
Read that letter.
and just so the commenters know, we did receive a number of email and other comments through our website, and we've got those, and those have been distributed to the ARB members and to the applicant team. So just let you know, if you emailed or otherwise provided a written comment, we do have copies of those. You're welcome to still provide verbal comments in addition to the written copies.
As far as the time, if we could, if the speaker in front of you or somebody else has said that, just say we agree with that person, and we can keep moving down the road, because we have a lot of speakers. So, thank you. Okay, we're going to go with, and I'm going to, believe me, I always put
And
this
Mr. Chair,
disclaimer,
in
I
terms
record
of
people's names.
And we were going to want a mic, so perhaps if somebody from the applicant team wouldn't mind scooching over, or
You know what?
so we have an opportunity to, they're free to use my mic as well.
I was gonna
I
say,
can put it in the corner if you want to slide down here, and the
Yeah.
public speakers can come right at the corner.
They might feel more comfortable that way than being sandwiched. So, I know I would.
So if you,
On the podium, or is that stuck there?
yeah, that one was a problem, I think.
That's
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to start with Linda Leseckley, followed by Marcy Mullen, followed by, geez, I need to change glasses, sorry. I got the wrong glasses on now. Don Benson.
Anywhere you like.
Wonder they don't work color on. Hello, welcome.
Hello. Yes, I'm speaking for the Board of Directors of the Lagunitas Owners Association. And the first point we want to make, which may not be for you guys, but there are CC&Rs that govern the whole property. And the first parcel, which is parcel 1, that's where we are, is residential. Parcel 2 within those CC&Rs is commercial, and parcel 3 is the city open space park. And one thing I want to mention that really wasn't brought up, not related to my talk, but the creek plantings are strictly controlled in those CC&Rs, so there isn't any real flexibility. You could enhance them based on the plant list, but you can't change them within the creek boundary. So our point is the CC&Rs are clearly specifying that this is a commercial building on that property. And so we feel that's the end of the story, that unless the city has a way to override our CC&Rs, this change can't be made. But I do want to make a couple other points in case the city has the power to override our CC&Rs, and that is the design. The design of the commercial building that's approved, that was approved when we bought our homes and is still approved, was very, very respectful of our neighborhood. All the parking was along Via Real, so we wouldn't hear revving engines or, slamming doors. It was all buffered by the building. And all the mechanical equipment were along Lamita Lane, buffered by the building again, so we wouldn't hear air conditioners buzzing, and we wouldn't have dump trucks coming, or trash trucks coming to dump trash near our homes. And to me, that's one of the big things with this particular project, is if every home has an air conditioner, we hear the commercial buildings at night, the manufacturing buildings at night, we hear the freeway at night. So with these buildings so much closer, if there's air conditioning units for every house, we'll be just blasted out of the city. And then the final thing with the design is that the commercial buildings all had louvers over their windows so that there would be no light coming to our property at night. So now you have this development. It has a roadway around the exterior near our homes. It has 2-story and 3-story balconies with sliding doors that'll produce light. And, to me, it's just not respectful of our neighborhood, of the original design that I felt is so respectful of our neighborhood. And then the final thing that I'd like to say on behalf of the association is those CCNRs also specify that each party has the private use of their own property. The creek is our buffer, and there are bridges over the creek. Right now, our homes all have either no yard or a small courtyard or a small backyard. So our owners use our parkland, our open space, as their private backyard. And that's assured in these CCNRs. So, I'm not sure how that can be mediated, because you can't build a fence down the middle of a bottom of a creek. So I'm really not sure, unless we give up some of our land, how we can, avoid having the owners here use our large grass for their dog walk or use our playground for their kids. And that would be a violation of the CCNRs. So with those things said, I know other people are going to bring up other points. But as far as we're concerned, this is a violation of that CCNRs, and I don't understand how it can be built. If the city chooses to go forward, I think the city needs to give to us what authority they have to override our CCNRs. And I think you all need to do a lot of mitigation to the design to bring it back to where the commercial buildings were with respect to our homes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now, let's hold it apart. I mean, I know you all agree. It's right here. I got it. So, Marcy Muller? Marcy?
Yep.
Hey, I got it right. Marcy Muller, and she's not here? Oh, okay. Well, Marcy, let's see. Don Benson. And then we'll have William Anderson.
Thank you.
Oh, I got that without glasses.
Unfortunately, I have bronchitis, but I'll do the
Move
best.
over.
I'll do the best I can.
Sorry.
No, I'm not.
Just kidding.
Anyway.
God, levity here.
Okay, I'm Don Benson, and I'm speaking for my wife and myself and my wife, Vera Benson. Our house is at 1202 Lomita Lane, directly north of the project. We bought our property 60 years ago when the property was surrounded by avocado and lemon orchards. No industrial buildings, no Bega, no storage buildings, no Lagunitas. For 60 years, we have dedicated ourselves to perpetuating the philosophy of a small, rural beach town environment. Vera was involved with Lagunitas referendum in 2006, when the project was reduced to 84,550 square feet of offices and 73 units of residence. All of our neighbors in the community supported the project at that time. Mm-hmm. The office buildings were 2-story in height, and the architecture was similar to Lagunitas residence. We support housing, a project that would replicate the architecture of existing Lagunitas housing. Aesthetically, this would strengthen the integration of the proposed and existing residential properties, rather than introducing a different architectural style. We oppose the 3-story portion of the project. Also, we oppose to the importing of fill to raise the grade, which would add substantial height to the buildings. Now, we look down at the buildings. We're 50 feet above this project. Additional height to the size, bulk, and scale of these massive buildings is not what we would like. We oppose a modification allowing for 15 parking spaces in front of the front yard setback and be around. The 50-foot setback is important to soften the front of the building and maintain the setback similar to adjacent properties. We oppose the mass scale and size of the building. The project is large and massive with flat roofs. The existing Lagunitas houses are 1- and 2-story buildings with sloping textured single roofs with landscaping and trees around and between the buildings. All elements of the structure should be of earth color. This is what our opinion is. And they should complement the natural environment and without mechanical equipment and solar panels on roofs. The lighting must be dark sky lighting design, similar to the existing Lagunitas residents, which have a few 12-foot high down-facing streetlights. Lomita Lane is a dark environment also without streetlights. We are opposed to uplights on trees and lighting on buildings. Almost finished. We are concerned about people walking on Lomita Lane from the project. We request pedestrian fencing along the entire length of Lomita Lane without gates to prevent pedestrians from entering Lagunitas Lane, a private, narrow, barely sufficient for 2 passing automobiles and too dangerous for pedestrians. Also, I have concern about the theft of our 2.5 acres of avocado trees. Landscaping we support, a lot of trees and plants throughout. Existing trees and plants should complement existing native water-efficient plants as well as possible. The existing planting and trees along Lomita Lane, which are part of this property, have not been maintained. Half of the trees are gone. They've died on both sides of the street. Therefore, we recommend that the landscape plan for the project be reviewed by the city every 2 years from compliance with an approved landscape plan. We are very much opposed to the cafe store. It will create pedestrian and automobile traffic, especially on Lomita Lane. Please note that there is no parking on the south side of Via Real, and the majority of the curbs on the north side are no parking zones. Lomita Lane will be a choice for pedestrians and automobiles parking. The construction of a gate and turnaround somewhere on Lomita Lane could prevent autos and pedestrians from using Lomita Lane, which is a private road that goes all the way up into the residential area. I had a comment about the steel fence. There's a nice steel fence in back of the existing residential, Lagunitas residential property, steel. And that's what I would recommend for fencing.
Okay, thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Okay, William Anderson, followed by Bill Murphy.
Hello, my name is Bill Anderson. I'm a resident of Lagunitas. I'm speaking for my wife and myself. I wish to speak about the negative impact of the project on open space in Lagunitas. We know from the plans that the proposed complex will come very close to our meadow, our meaning our homeowners' meadow, which Linda previously talked about. It's difficult to know how close because the story poles do not show the carports that ring the complex. We can't see. In order to truly understand the extent of the complex, we need to see story poles for the carports. The proposal has almost no open space or children's play space. The plan presentation in the City Hall shows one basketball hoop. And that basketball hoop is on Lagunitas homeowners' property. The plan shows a gate in the rear, and the trail at the other end of the gate leads to 3 places. our Lagunitas Meadow, the Lagunitas Children's Play Area, and Calle Lagunitas. All of these are privately owned and maintained by the Lagunitas homeowners. Does the project developer intend for the children at the project to play in the Lagunitas homeowners areas? I request that the board postpone consideration of the complex until the developer modifies the plans to contain an appropriate amount of children's play space and open space, and installs story poles that show the full extent of the complex.
All right, thank you. Okay, Bill Murphy, followed by Mary Jane Yardley. Mary Jane, there you are. Bet you got some razzing for that in the early days.
Yeah,
That's adorable. Well, with the last name of Stein, can you imagine what I went through?
Where's Bill Murphy?
Okay, Bill Murphy, did you say you were coming up? I saw somebody get up. Okay, come on up, Mary. No, I saw,
saw some guy leave.
yeah, somebody got up. This one? And then we'll have Connie Thompson after Mary. Hi.
Good evening. My name is MJ Yardley,
Okay,
and
sorry.
I am a resident of Lagunitas Homes. I moved here with my sister about 5 years ago from Maui, and we chose Carpinteria specifically for the atmosphere of Carpinteria, the beautiful small beachside resort, especially coming from Maui. We wanted that open feeling and the tranquil small town feel. We did not go to Goleta, we did not go to Santa Barbara because Carpinteria had all of that appeal. And I'm afraid that this development lacks that appeal. It is not only a problem in density has been made, obvious by a number of speakers, but height, but particularly the design, I think, is a major problem. It seems to be a mass development with very little open space. I know they keep talking about open space, but it's really the perimeter of the property, not the central part of the property at all. And certainly not the front of the property where the majority of people would see from Villa Real. In addition, the design, I think, is totally incongruent with not only Lagunitas Homes, but Carpinteria itself. It's very modern, it's very industrial looking. It has none of the feel, the appeal, the charm of a small beach community. This reminds me of something that would be more appropriately placed maybe in Oxnard or Ventura, not Carpinteria. I mean, it's very pretty, but it's not carp. In addition, I have a concern about whether an environmental impact study has been done with regard to the excavation of the parking, underground parking. That's really unusual for Carpinteria, and particularly in our area. And whether there has been a study as to all of that excavation and what impact it would have on the water retention basin of Carpinteria, or I'm sorry, of Lagunitas, as well as the water table. I agree with previous speakers as to the various noise, light pollution, and I again, as other speakers, would please ask you not to approve this project as it is currently proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Connie Thompson, I know you're here, Connie, and Ashley Devon, followed for Connie. Okay, Ashley's here. And then following Ashley, we'll have Brian Gindoff.
Good evening. I'm Connie Thompson. I've lived here for 57 years. I'm in Lagunitas now. I'm not against housing at all, but this project is just overwhelming. It's so big. There's nothing like it in Carpinteria at all. Lagunitas is 8.6 acres with we're 12 acres with 73 houses and condominiums combined with the walking paths and grassy meadows. This project's only 8.6 acres with 151 apartments in a 3-story office building, a no-no for Carpinteria. This property was zoned This property was zoned and approved for a two-story office building at 84,000 square feet. Now it's doubled in size and with only one entrance and exit. What about building houses and apartments instead and just have more residential? That's what we need. Notice I don't call this development Lagunitas Apartments. We really don't want to be confused. We don't want to be known as Lagunitas Apartments when we're Lagunitas. And I ask that we please don't let the state take over and demand what we do. They really don't have the right to do that. And please do not approve as is.
Okay, thank you, Connie. Ashley, oh, you're here, okay. And then Brian followed.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm Ashley Devan. I'm here speaking on behalf of my husband and I. We're proud homeowners in Lagunitas. We've been there since it was originally built in 2013, and we're also longtime residents of Carpinteria. We love our little town. We both hold deep commitments to both the neighborhood and Carpinteria as a town. My husband has been president of the HOA for 9 years. I volunteer as a board member of the Friends of the Carpinteria Library. So just want to make sure you know how much we love Carpinteria, and we don't want it to change. When we purchased our home, we did so with a clear understanding of the surrounding landscape. It was outlined in our CCNRs, and the proposal that is under consideration tonight diverges significantly from what was in the original vision for the nearby property. So seeking to introduce the overwhelming density of residential units alongside commercial space is quite different. And we think it has grave implications. The density of 18 dwelling units per acre is triple that of the Lagunitas community, which is 6 per acre. The way I look at it is it's twice as many dwellings in 2/3 the space. I even look at it as you take one of those little cruise ships and you pull it in and park it there, and that's what it feels like to me. So we think that it threatens and puts our community at risk. It'll burden our neighborhood with traffic, possible increases in crime. We already have parking shortages in our neighborhood, and we're concerned it would affect our property value as well. The other concerns, I agree with everybody about the height, the underground parking, the aesthetics, so I'll skip on that, but I do want to focus on what makes Carpinteria Carp, because everything around us is changing. And so we want to make sure that you guys consider the broader context of Carpinteria's development trajectory. And when you look at what's happening in Oxnard and Goleta, we don't want that to happen here in Carp. And it's imperative that we protect what makes Carpinteria Carp. I even looked at the general plan for Carpinteria, and it emphasizes the preservation of our small beach town essence and warns against sprawl development, which I had to look that up. I'm not a developer or anything, but that means building high density on the outskirts of town. And I consider Lagunitas on the outskirts of Carp, and this is not something we want in our neighborhood. So we ask that you guys do not approve the proposal as is, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to share our concerns.
Thank you. Okay, we got Brian Gandalf. Ah, you're Gandalf to me there. All right. Hey, a wizard is never late or early. You should know that. Followed by Jacqueline Matthews.
Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. Do I need to press that? Ah, got it.
The green button.
The green button. Hi, I'm Brian Gendorf. I live in Lagunitas. My wife, Verna, and I bought our home there in the very earliest phase of the development, and we have really enjoyed living there and still do. I'm going to echo primarily what Linda Lasecki, who is a board member, said at the beginning, and that is, I think we're in a situation here where the cart was put way before the horse by this being brought to you guys first. And as you said, Mr. Chairman, as opposed to maybe starting at the Planning Commission, because I think that you have a fundamental issue here. You have, we have our HOA has its CCNRs, as you well know. And the city is a party to our CCNRs. You know the history. The history was, and we all bought our homes based on the representations in those CCNRs that the city stands behind and is involved in. So effectively, the city told us when we were buying our houses, we relied on the city's pledges that are incorporated in our CCNRs. And those pledges were, you guys can have a nice residential community here, lovely. You've got this beautiful open space in the middle with the retention basin and with the revitalization of the creek, great. And over there is going to be a commercial building. We all bought our homes and condos reliant on that plan. I think that's a legal contract. I don't think it's just a gesture. I think that, we all literally spent a lot of money and made big financial and lifestyle decisions based on an understanding with the city. Now we're in a situation where we're being presented with something, it's being called mixed use. Mixed use, as it was, you said it yourself, sir, as it was always understood here, was residential, creek, commercial building.
Correct.
It wasn't, mixed use didn't mean, we'll build a little commercial over here, kind of a Trojan horse commercial over here, and then put 85% of the square footage into apartments there. There was never zoning for apartments or single-family homes over there. It was all, and it worked because it was symbiotic. In other words, when you're living in a house over here, and you've got a nice buffer zone of a creek with good plantings around it in the middle, then a well-designed commercial project on the other side, which you guys did a good job of modifying last time around, doesn't throw a lot of light at night, doesn't make a lot of noise at night because people go home. People don't, for the most part, work in their buildings at night. And you guys did a wonderful job of mitigating those things the last time around with the campus. We were really impressed with how well you addressed our issues of light and of sound and of so forth. I would echo what Linda said, which is I don't think they can build it. I just don't think you can do it. You've got a contractual relationship with all of us homeowners, and that'll be at the, I put my thoughts in here. You guys have my letter. I presume that it will go over to the Planning Commission. Do I have to resubmit it again?
Yes.
I do. Okay, I would want to. Fine. Thank you for telling me. I summed up in my letter to you, which maybe some of you read. I'll just, if I may, read a paragraph out loud.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Because I think this is the core of what I have to say. Those of us who have bought homes and condos in Lagunitas have relied on the actual mixed-use plans of the city of Carpinteria as part of our decision to purchase property in Lagunitas. We have all made major economic and lifestyle decisions that rely on the various agreements that the city of Carpinteria is a party to, as well as the city's implied promises and representations. We do not believe that the city of Carpinteria can unilaterally abrogate or evade the agreements that are explicitly and implicitly in place between the city and all of the homeowners of Lagunitas. I think that sums up our position, and I would just add, as I have in this letter, that if these nice folks, I think you are nice folks, if these nice folks came back and said, okay, the mixed use doesn't really mean mixed use the way you guys, and they asked for rezoning, I don't think you can do it. I think the same argument holds. We've got a contract, we have a commitment that we're going to get something that works with us over there because it goes to bed at night. It doesn't make a lot of noise all night, it doesn't throw a lot of headlights at us all night, it doesn't have open back, balconies blaring out music late at night. It works. Okay, and that's my argument. I think, we have a right to what we signed up for because the city was a party to what we signed up for. And I thank you very much for allowing me to make my speech.
Well, thank you. Okay. Jacqueline Matthews, Jim Gaskin, and then David Rosso. Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay,
Is
Jacqueline.
the speaker on? Yep. I bought, along with my son, a house in Lagunitas. It's for sale. It's not what I had hoped. We loved that it's green, it's quiet, and I haven't even moved in yet. But I've lived all over the country, and I would hope that we could hear all sides, and that we are not pummeled by huge developments. And anyway, I was joking about it being for sale. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, did you make a note of that, okay? All right, Jim Gaskin, followed by David Rosso, sorry. Okay, and then Kevin Donahue.
Yeah, my name's Jim Gaskin. I live at 1205 Lomita Lane. And we're directly adjacent to that property, to the Lagunitas property, and I really just sort of surmise it. We very strongly agree with what Don Benson and our neighbors next door in Lagunitas are saying. When we purchased our house, we were shown a perspective drawing of what was going to happen at Lagunitas. Construction had not yet begun. It was several years in the future. And we were given the same promise. There was going to be limited residential and a small industrial commercial building, and very limited in its scope. And this is a cartoon. I'm sorry to people who put a lot of hard work in, I know, but this is a massive, offensive structure to us. It's far too high, far too large, far too many people, far too much grading. And where is the infrastructure to support this? Where are we going to get traffic, gas, electricity, sewer? Do we have that in the city right now? I think we're pushed to our limits as it stands.
Talk to the water district too. They seem to think we're endless amounts of water.
Yeah, they've told me a whole other story.
Bill keeps going up.
Yeah, I get a whole other story when I go to the water department, and we've had our issues. And I don't understand how you can add 150, 160 residential units and
Okay.
go along with it. Also, as well as drainage with underground parking there in an old, which you've basically got as a vernal pond. How in the world are you going to dig underground parking there? Anyhow.
Okay, maybe they'll collect the water and sell it to the water district.
Let's start a business.
There you go. Okay, thank you. David?
I'll pass.
Huh? Okay, and I could hear you, by the way. Okay, Kevin, come on down, and then Tim Grimes.
Thank you guys for what you guys do, and I know this is tedious stuff. I agree with everyone that has spoken so far with all the points that they've made, especially with the density concerns. What I would ask to hear from you tonight, if it's possible, if someone can address the CC&R issue in closing arguments and how that stands with how this would architecturally move forward. And if not, would this be something the city attorney would look at and review and see how that stands and how that's going to play out? Some comments I'll make that I don't think other people have touched on, but the density issue is my biggest concern. You talk about a 3-story building, but when you look at the development of it, the design of it, it's a 4-story building because they're not counting the parking structure beneath it. So if you go from there up, it's 4 stories. There are no 4 stories in Carpinteria. It's disproportionate to neighborhood compatibility and what Carpinteria really is. There's not enough study. It seems like we're rushing this. It doesn't seem like this was, clearly thought out. There's nothing that I've heard in the plans that talk about a traffic study. There's nothing about environmental impact reports with regards to the grading and the fill dirt, with the natural habitat and the natural plants and the things that exist in that open space. Going back to traffic, I know in recent years we've had 2 fatalities at Via Real and the 150, and now we're going to put 1,000 people in proximity to that intersection where they're going to be commuting, driving, and bicycling. There's been no studies to look at that and how that area needs to be improved to accommodate that kind of traffic. Maybe a traffic signal is going to be needed there. Same thing with Baylord. Going back to the density issue, parking. You hear a lot in their presentation that they're meeting the minimums, the code requirements for the per capita, minimums. The parking is far short of what it really needs to be for that many units. If you look at Ballard and the 101 and you look at that, there's no street parking there whatsoever. That's because the reality of the rental market today is that you have one-bedroom apartments with 4, 5, 6 people living in them, because that's how they can afford to pay rent in the Central Coast, in the Santa Barbara area. And that's the same here, it's the same in Santa Barbara, it's the same in Goleta. So when you look at these 159 units and you have a one-bedroom unit, you can bet that there's going to be several of them that are going to have 4 or 5 people living in them. When you have a studio, you're going to have 3, 4 people living in them. When you have a 2-bedroom, you're going to have 7 to 8 people living in them. That's just what the economics of the rental market is today. So the parking is going to be way short, and you're going to see Villa Real filled with cars. And that's not what should be Carpinteria. It should be balanced, it should be proportionate. That's all I got.
Thank you. Okay, Kevin Donahue, Kevin. Oh, that was you. Well, come on back. No. Okay, Tim Grimes, Gary Grumman? Grumman. Hey, I got it close.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Tim Grimes.
I'm sorry you're wearing that shirt, but it's okay. My wife went to UCLA.
Yeah,
so.
figures. Okay, I'm going to make my comments short. Everybody here is making very good comments, reflective of most of our opinions. So I moved here from LA 16 years ago, and what we see there in those story poles is LA. Boom, right in our backyard. So this board here made great decisions on the Lagunitas neighborhood, and that's why we moved in there. We were the first family to move in there 12 years ago this November, and we love it, and we love it like it is. So look, we know there was going to be something developed there, commercial space. We like that. That's why we moved in there. So the scope of this is changing. My focus, though, with this project, every other project, seems we're fighting developers everywhere now, is the lighting. I'm an amateur astrophotographer, and I love taking pictures of galaxies, and the lighting conditions in Carpinteria happen to be really good. And so one of the things you focused on very, very carefully was the light pollution. And in our neighborhood, we have barely any lights because of that. I like that. I get to take pictures of stuff way up there in the sky. So all these developers, they say they care about lights, but I'm not seeing it in these plans. It's very difficult to see. So my focus is going to be light pollution, and I'll keep coming back here and reminding you, please be careful of that. Those are the end of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And go ahead and wait. I have friends that went to USC too, so that's okay. All right, Gary, come on down.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. We'll probably be speaking at other meetings in the upcoming future. One of the things that I find disturbing is that this is the first time the neighborhood's really talked about all this, because nobody came to us prior to this meeting to have meetings with the community. I never got any notice about it. We've been living there for 13 years. The development originally planned with the 73 units, the commercial building of 84,000 square feet, was documented very clearly when all of us bought our homes. And I came down to the city before we bought the home to talk about the 84,000 square foot building, to show what that was going to happen, how they were going to do it, and the parking. So those are things that we all bought into. Now, I live in a single-story home. I'm precluded to go 2 stories because that was agreed to with our people at Lomita Lane, who we all respect, wave hi to, and enjoy as neighbors. So those are things that are really critical in our development, and our height in our development is 27.5 feet, not 30, not 36. If you walk up Lomita Lane, look out towards the ocean, you won't see the ocean anymore. And it's that would be very disturbing to see. Now, this will be the first underground parking we have in Carpinteria. The other ones are podium decks. They're slightly below, but they're not underground. So this would be the very first one, and I don't think Carpinteria is there yet. I don't think we're Santa Barbara, and we're definitely not LA or San Fernando Valley. When I look at the design of the building, just from the two views perspective, I see boxes. I have boxes already. That's an industrial park that was already there. We bought into that. So I don't want to see more boxes. If we're going to do this, you need to meld into the residential development and what is there and what was, I think, probably painstakingly approved by both the developer as well as the city itself and your boards, et cetera. So the height, to me, is a real issue. Everybody's brought up the lighting, big issue. Because I call the city to make sure that Procore gets their lights off at night. Because it lights up, when it's foggy, I don't need to turn the lights on in my backyard because of that one light. And I'm sorry for my neighbors who bedrooms face that light. So that's an issue. The other is, it just looks like a box. And we don't need boxes. Yes, they put in little architectural features here and there. But you look at the top, it's a box and it's a flat roof. We don't have flat roofs. We don't have HVAC units in our roofs. Ours are all outside. So we don't have anything penetrating out and showing like this would. The other thing, a coffee shop or a deli or whatever you want to call it, that's what downtown's for. You can walk there in 10 minutes. We don't need it in our neighborhood. We don't need that kind of noise because they can get noisy. All the other items that relates to our CC&Rs, et cetera, I won't go into that. But in closing, I look at this building and I think of another 20 years from now, that building's going to look like some of the buildings built in 1960s and 70s in San Fernando Valley. It's going to be a box with a stucco wall, and it'll probably not be repainted very often. So I would deny what they're trying to do. They're going to impact the views, and just from the street alone, in the industrial park, we don't have any three-story buildings. They're all two-story. So why are we allowing something to go much higher? This would be a high-rise in our town. So I don't believe we should be promoting that and having that as a type of architectural feature which is one of a kind. We're a community, we're trying to be the beach community, we are, and we have a residential neighborhood that the trees are growing in, everything's getting mature, and we're not going to look at flat roofs. They need to meld into our project, not the other way around. So with that, those are my closing comments, and I just hope we don't bring LA to Carpinteria anytime soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's it for my speaker slips. So,
Anybody else?
I have a question.
Sure.
Is it possible, like, for the public to get a copy of the design? I mean, during this review process, like maybe the first draft, the preliminary draft, and the future, like updated draft, like, we look at the projectors, but it's not very clear all the details.
Yes.
And my husband is very good at it, looking at the drawing. So, but he's today, he could not see it. That he really like to see the drawing. So I could take a picture of your existing drawing.
We'll do better than that. So there are a few options for you. We have the project listed on the city's website. We have the full-size copies of the plans in the lobby of City Hall, which you may review at any time during normal business hours. And then as the project evolves, because again, this will not be the last meeting or hearing related to this project, any changes in the project or as the project evolves, we will have those posted to the city's website and those copies of the plans here, the full-size plans available at City Hall in the lobby.
Okay, so it will be online?
Correct.
And it's just City Hall?
Yes, you can, and you can always reach out to staff, and we can direct you how to find those plans to view. You're welcome.
And if I may, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more copies. If the rest of the board is, we're not going to recycle them.
We end up just
We'll
putting them in
pass
the
out.
recycle, so.
You guys are a small community. You guys can deal with that. Amber,
Come on
you
up.
have a comment? And then we'll need a speaker slip, please.
Yeah, I'll do it. Very briefly, we keep talking about we need affordable housing. This is ridiculous to have market rate housing. No matter how small it is or how large it is, it's unacceptable. Totally. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, that's it. So if you guys are back around, there's 4 more copies. We'll just. Oh, you want to tear that page off then? Okay, I'm going to bring it back here. Do you want to comment on anything that's come forward? A lot of people.
Sure.
have comments,
Well,
I'm sure.
let's hear the board's deliberations,
Yeah,
and
we have to-
we'll wrap up here.
Did you get more than you bargained for? You're used to this stuff, so I already know that. I am too, actually.
Yes, yes. Obviously, we had an expectation as to the public's comments by receipt of the letters in advance, so no surprise. We have reached out to the HOA leadership over the past several weeks, and unfortunately, we've asked to present in front of the board, and unfortunately, we never heard back. So it's not for lack of effort, and we continue to extend our hand of friendship and to dialogue and to try to work towards creative solutions. So our door is always open. I will have my business card available for many of you. I don't know that I have 50, but certainly I have enough that I can distribute. So I do want to let the public know that, we do want to talk and engage with them. In terms of the CCNRs, so that's really not an ARB issue. It's more so a private contract. I don't have my land use attorney here. We don't have a city attorney here. So I'm happy to engage in a board setting, ARB, on CCNR issues to work through those issues. So I'm confident we can get there. A whole host of other comments. If you have specific questions, they're happy to address them. I did take good notes, as did my partner here, Freddie, and we'll look forward to working through those comments and specifically to address, if you have questions or design direction, really interested in hearing that this evening.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Okay, we're going to bring it back up here for deliberation.
We want to start?
He's
Patrick?
got a whole list, so Patrick?
Yeah, sure. In no particular order.
Oh, microphone or in your mouth.
Yeah, almost.
It actually is. You gotta
Swallowing
be-
it, yeah.
It's got to be
I have
right
a-
up here.
I have a low voice. In no particular order, I do think the CCNR issue is really important. We've got to get through that and address, the neighbors. So that's my first comment. Second is I maintain sort of a vigilant stance on lot coverage and open space. I think those calculations may be to the letter of the rule, but I think we've got to have a more nuanced view of how those calculations are done, and particularly in a mixed-use project. So we've talked about that recently on a recent project, and I think we still need to work through that. So I definitely don't agree with how those calculations are done and characterized in the presentation or the staff report. The story pole condition, I think, does need to include all the structures for the benefit of everybody that goes by. In this particular case, I think the lot lines would be helpful too, because it is sunk here and it's difficult to get down in there to walk it. So you can't really tell where those buffer areas are very well. I'm not sure that's doable, but it's just a thought. With respect to the height, I think the staff report does a good job of articulating that. I think what everybody's going to realize, particularly the people that are current residents in the area, is the feeling is going to be more like 40 feet with that infill. from what it is today. So it may be and the drawings are conflicting with the reports in a few areas. There's 33-1 or 33-11 in one place, 36 in another. So there's some, I think, harmonization of those stats you got to get to, and I just think that height is going to continue to be a problem. The mass along Via Real, I agree. That even though the parking is sunk, I think it is kind of abrupt at Via Real, certainly as it relates to today. And I thought the pedestrian fence comment was a really good one. To have a safe environment along that border. So with all of that, I'm struggling with the idea of approving it to go to final.
Okay. Richard?
I agree with many of the comments that Patrick already made. It seems
Right,
seems
yeah,
like,
way up there, sorry.
It seems
Farther.
it should have been directed more to the city before we even got to this point, especially with the CCNRs, because again, we're just here to look at the style of your designs and things like that, and not to deal with any legal issues with the homeowners. So it just seems like we're really jumping the boat on that. As far as the actual structure itself, just looking at the story poles on Via Real with the 3 stories, it just is way too massive for my particular taste. I think a lot of the homeowners also commented that the box style is really inconsistent with their architectural style, which is a very nice style. And actually, when my wife and I initially came to Carp, we looked at the homes in that area and thought they were very well done. It also seems like the spacing between the apartments and the hallways, it just kind of gives me a tunnel feel. So it'd be pretty dark there. Sydney asked about the compact parking spaces. I drive a small little Mini Cooper, and whenever I come up to a spot that has compact parking, there's always a big SUV there. So I don't see any practical use of having compact parking.
It is true.
So it just seems like there's got to be a lot of work done on this, downsizing or going back to the original plans that everyone seemed to be happy with.
Okay. Miss Amy?
I concur with Board Member O'Connor about the open space requirements. I think those need to be reevaluated. And I also have significant concerns about the CCNRs. It does feel like a bit of a bait and switch with the whole way this is played out, and I'm going to leave it to people smarter than me to figure that part out. But as we go through the general plan, just looking at the issues that we are responsible for, the size, bulk, and scale, I feel like, what's going to be a really big element right along Via Real, I think is inappropriate. I think the size, bulk, and scale of the whole thing is too much, and at the risk of sounding like a broken record with several of these projects, I just feel like the program is too ambitious. Why not make more generous units and just do less of them? I know that there's a financial push there, clearly. However, it's been done, and I think that there's got to be a way to still provide people with a decent place to live without having to make it taller inside just to feel like it's got some space. Looking through some other elements of the general plan, protect mountain and sea views. I don't think that we're complying with that from Via Real. It's blocking out the mountains completely. I know we're going to impact some views to the ocean from Lomita. Another one dictates that we fit quietly into the landscape and surrounding area. I don't feel that the cruise ship coming in complies with that. And I also, preserving the natural environmental qualities of creekways and protect riparian habitat. You're right smack on top of this, riparian zone, and we're putting 159 units there with a sea of parking lot around it. I think Jason needs to be commended for making the civil actually work out so this could calc out and actually be functional. But I think having this island of paving around this, it doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable. I don't support the parking in the front yard setback. You guys aren't meeting the parking requirements as it is, and you're going into the front yard setback with it. And my nitpicky stuff is going to be the underground parking. It's 3 dead end lanes of parking. So if you go down underground and get to the end of the lane and there's no parking, you have to back out. In an underground parking, it's just not, and everything is just maxed out. There's no space to breathe in it, and or to have to turn around to go back and find a different parking space. And just specifically on the landscape plan, the city of Carpinteria went through quite a bit of toil and trouble removing Tippewanna tipus from Linden Avenue because they were destroying the road, and we had to repair the sidewalks over and over and over again. So I would love for everyone to learn the lesson from that and maybe pick a different tree. This gentleman here has the same experience. And also the date palms aren't going to be happy here. So finding something different.
Sorry, Amy, could you repeat what palm?
The date palms.
Thank you.
I also Canary Island palms would be a no-go either. They're all getting sick. So, and as a separate little note to staff, I know SBAR encourages elevations to be done and reviewed without plant material, basically obscuring the entire elevations of the structures. And I would encourage
Schematic.
us to look into that because it hides a lot of issues when you can put some pretty plants in front of it, which, I mean, I prefer the pretty plants, obviously, but I think it would be helpful for the public and the board to actually see the buildings and by themselves, just to really appreciate what we're looking at. And those are my comments. Thank you for listening.
That was a very good comment. Richard?
Greetings. Well, I won't reiterate too much of what the previous members have already said. They do have their points to ponder. You've heard the community, and you've heard some of our comments. It seems like we do have to mitigate the density or the apparent density of the project to get some approval to get it far ahead on this. The story poles are so misleading, and they're so really hard to relate to reality. I applaud the design as far as having major shadow lines and breakup of the massing on the Via Real elevation. I don't think it's going to see like a 3-story building. It's going to look like a 2-story building. It's the way it's designed and animated. There could be some variation in the roof heights just to give it some plainer variety, but design development there, as well as with the building itself going down Low Meter Lane and facing Lagunitas Drive. I really like the play of materials and, again, the more than generous balcony overhangs to create shadow lines. And again, it's just that long roof line that continues at the same height as the big drawback. If there could be more breakup in that to create some animation to the whole massing. And it's just the 3-story building is just the front, not the other 4 buildings, or whatever the count is, to the north. But those are 2-story buildings. They're 24 feet high, and most buildings in Carp are bigger than that. But it's all one single height. And maybe you can vary that with the grading. The 4-foot grading, I wonder, is really necessary in its own right. I think that's worth looking into, as the other previous developments didn't have it, so there must be proof that there isn't mandatory. Parking around the perimeter, that could be well landscaped and broken up a little bit. Yes, the compacts should be spread out in there in the community, not just in glumps. And I don't mind the parking in the front yard setback. They mark the commercial industrial park has got a lot of parking right up close to Via Real there also, and that's pretty much a standard through there. And keep in mind, the frontage on this project is very narrow along Via Real relative to all the other developments along this streetscape. So that's to our benefit to give approval to it also. I like the underground parking, gets cars off the surface, and you can circulate down there as long as there's lots of room to circulate. That should work out really well. I think that's about it.
Thank you.
Okay. How about stereo?
Two.
Stereo, no. I'm used to these things. Well, I'm not the smartest guy here, but we started with this project. I was on the city council, 20-plus years ago. And we did start with conceptual. We had the ARB, the Planning Commission, and the city council. And that's why I asked in the beginning, for projects like this, that's what we always did as a community to get it out front. And you'll hear from everybody, and we have all the boards there to talk about it, discuss it, and the city attorney. We had a project, the Clintner project. You talk about LA. That's a quintessential LA project that we had that went up the chain to the top, was appealed, and went forward. And I said back at our ARB meeting at the beginning, these are the policymakers, which they're the guys that the rubber meets the road. And everybody in this room should be hammering our city council to say, you're not following what we the people want. Whether your city attorney says it or not, that's what you should be doing. Not sitting back and waiting for a meeting. Proactive. Elect people that will follow what you want. So that's my political spin on this. I'm getting a little tired of what's going on here.
You running for office?
Hell no.
He paid his dues.
I paid my 28 years was enough. And we never had things like this that went through. I got to tell you. Now, statewide, it's a different story. I am going to run for governor and kick all those people out. So I'd clear cut everything, let me tell you. Honestly, I don't have a problem with the underground parking as long as you could bury every single parking space underneath it. I think it's a great use. Richard, I did agree with the balconies. I like the deep balconies. But as far as the architecture, it doesn't fit here. It's way too massive a project. And like I said, in the beginning, when Lagunitas first came through, we had multiple meetings until we finally whittled it down to where it'd be compatible with the residential neighborhood and went to the commercial office space across the way. And then that went through a number of changes and came back to us as a board, and we didn't take it lightly. We whittled that down and made it a very acceptable office building to the neighbors and that would fit in. And I would suggest going back to that if you're going to develop something. I can't see residential being over there. I think it's in the wrong place, especially market rate. It's not what we're trying to find in Carpinteria. And like I said, the county's going to do what the county does. I'd fire all of them too. I am not in favor of the cafe at all. None of that should be going out there. We should have the downtown, and this has been tried before. There are services that will come out and feed your commercial area. We want the downtown Carpinteria vibrant, and the cafe is not a good place to start. I also see parking along the front is going to spill over to Lomita Way. I've always been argued against our city parking standards. They're inadequate. Nobody has 1.5 cars. Nobody has 2 cars anymore. Everyone has 2, 3, 4 cars. So I like the Mini Cooper thing. Nix the minimum space. It should be what the minimum city space is. I don't believe in the compact space because that's la la land. What was the other thing I was looking at? The buildings, I think, should be pulled back away from the creek And I think your best bet is to come back to us or come back to the city with the original approval of that commercial building. Because if you're going forward, you throw out, oh, we'll get 50, 60 units per acre, you're not going to get that. I guarantee it. I mean, you'll see 6,000 people come out. So, I know. Anyway, that's just a number people throw out. And bulk scale size, way out of proportion. Height, too tall. Blah, 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 blah. I would not even entertain any of the three modifications. And neighborhood compatibility, not going to happen. And public views, I'm glad you brought that up, because I went everywhere around there. And you can't see the ocean, you can't see the mountains. So with that being said, in the right place, your project would be great. This is not the right place. So appreciate it, but I'm trying to kind of save you some money in the long run. Maybe you can do something there. So that being said, I don't see anybody.
I think I got it.
I hope not.
I think I got it.
I'll talk slow.
No, it wasn't just you.
Or, I don't think we have any action to move this forward, do we? Let me see what, oh, wait.
It's here for
recommendation.
preliminary.
So we'll take your comments, and then it's your decision on how to proceed. I think we've got the applicant and staff's got your comments, big ticket items. Next step would be up to the applicant. It doesn't sound like it's ready to proceed to planning commission. So then they'll be on the applicant if they'd like to come back for further preliminary review.
Actually, real quick, Brian, before they do their motions and everything, because I just want to have clear where the board is on the three different modifications. I'd like to, just go through and see who's supporting what, and then the CUP for the conjunctive use for the 15 parking spaces.
Cindy
for
brings up a
conjunctive use.
good point, and I'm usually the one that says, hey, can we stop and recap? So good job, Cindy. Do you want to pull up the last slide or the summary of issues, and maybe we can just
Yeah.
get a real clear? Go ahead, Mr.
I
Chair.
already said no, so you know where I am.
We know where you are, yes.
Right. And I don't know if we need to, I think they hit on these, we could go over these real quick, but I think, but I just want their feedback on the mod requests and the CUP, because those are, the planning commission will want to know from site design and whatnot for those. The height limit to exceed 30 feet. 47 of the spaces to be compact instead of regular standard size, and to allow the parking in the front yard setback.
Yeah, I'm a no.
No.
Yeah, I like them.
Oh, we already knew that. No.
There's always one.
No?
Wait, agreed, yay or nay?
I believe at least 4 of the board members are saying no to all 3.
And that was
Richard can speak for.
Board Member Little, you were in the.
He said no.
Okay.
Richard.
Well, the front yard parking in the front yard setback's okay with me.
Okay.
Perhaps limit the number of compact cars to less than what they're proposing. I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
And what was the height?
So height.
The height, the 30-foot height for the front building, to exceed the 30-foot height limit by up to 6 feet,
By the 3 feet?
Correct.
not including the additional 3 feet of fill, so really 40 feet.
Say again?
Well, the 33
Well,
foot.
it's important.
The
for-
33-foot height instead of the 30 feet.
Right. Well, 30, okay, so let's talk about the front building real quick. So the maximum is 33 feet. The average height is 31 feet, 11 inches, so 32 feet.
Right.
And then the screens are an additional 1.25 feet, and then the elevator shaft is another 1.75 feet on top of that. So the true very maximum height of the structure would be 36, including the elevator shaft. But across the roof, right around 32, above the average finished grade.
The elevator shaft should not be included in the height
It is, it's
restriction.
exempted, but just for visual.
Architectural projection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nor should the mechanical equipment riding along the spine of the buildings, because you won't see those from anywhere except Mr. Benson's house probably. But that's about it. So I don't have any objection to the height.
Okay. So you're okay with all 3?
Okay. I think we got it. And so just again, applicant team and members of the public, so this was the first review by the ARB. Sounds like there'll be more review. And as we said, as the project proceeds through the permitting process, including the environmental review component of the project, we'll have updates on the city's webpage. And, obviously, we'll be communicating any questions that come to us. We'll let everyone know where it stands. And you will again receive, at the next hearing, whether it's ARB or Planning Commission, you'll receive another notice like was sent previously. If there are folks that are beyond that noticing boundary, you can let us know that you'd like to receive a notice, and then we'll send you a notice. But it'll be, on the website, it'll be sent out via email, and then our city newsletter that you get periodically that advises you of upcoming hearings.
I have a real quick question. I'm a little bit confused, but after going through this process, I would understand that what I've heard is go back to the drawing board somewhat and minimize a lot of different things. Am I to understand that the applicants can just stick with what we currently have seen, and then just go to the planning commission with it?
So the ARB is advisory to the Planning Commission. There's no decisions this evening, one way or another. Most applicants would typically try to win the ARB's preliminary recommendation for a preliminary approval before proceeding to the Planning Commission, but it's not required. So as it stands now, there would not be a recommendation for preliminary approval to move on to the Planning Commission, but the applicant does not have to have ARB's blessing or preliminary review because there is no approval. They're advisory to the Planning Commission.
I have another question. For all the public comments, and whether by verbal or by written, are they going to be recorded in the county? Like today we have so many people speaking, and somebody can write a letter.
Yeah, thank you.
Are they going to be recorded and saved in the county? So along with the project, so other people, or reviewer, or other people can view.
Of course. Indeed. So we have copies of all of the written comments. I was diligently writing down as many of the verbal comments as well as Cindy. We will prepare minutes of this meeting that will be published and voted on in a future ARB date, probably not the next one because I've got a lot of work to do. Those will be available. The ARB will review those minutes to make sure that we've recorded the comments, both the applicant's presentation, the ARB's members' discussion, and summarized comments from the public as part of those minutes. Those are official, and then copies of any written materials stay with the city and are part of the public record.
Isn't the ARB meetings, aren't they supposed to be recorded now they are being totally recorded?
Yeah, we're doing a trial run, so in the May agenda, you'll see it'll have the links, much like the Planning Commission. Yep.
Okay, Troy had something.
Yeah, so I appreciate everyone's comments. A lot of homework, but we're up for the challenge. I did hear from you, Mr. Stein, that dead set against any residential. I expressed to you at the outset or at the beginning of the meeting that commercial up here office buildings dead on arrival. So I just like to hear from the board. Are we supportive of some type of mixed use project on this property? That'll help inform how we proceed with this project.
Can I just jump in? My response would be that there's clearly an issue with a conflict with the CCNRs, and I think that that's going to inform a lot of that. I know you're going to say it's going to sort it, but it's clearly something that's changed dramatically from what was agreed upon.
So, we have a different opinion as to the CCNRs in terms of the recitals versus the declarations. And so there's a different interpretation that clearly needs to be sorted out. But in terms of this board and its interest or desire in seeing any type of mixed use, I just want to see, supportive. I know.
I'm not.
Yeah, yeah.
I know
So,
I've
so.
many hours on this already.
Well, I do appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
So I don't know that it's necessarily appropriate for me to make the comment, but I just will. I don't think it's our decision. I think it's a matter of reconciling the CCRs with the city and the planning commission dealing with the land use. The mixed use is not the ARB's call. We all have opinions, but I don't think it's our call.
Perfectly summarized.
One thing I want to reiterate what Amy said, this kind of thing, it's very pretty, but it's misleading.
Well, it's a good comment, Mr. Chair, and I'm sure the applicant team will take that under advisement and perhaps come back with stripped down elevations.
Covering the building
I mean, we could do like a lot of times like with and without. So that way you'll see like, oh, this is when it's all prettied up and this is just the start building. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, one last comment, that's it.
So, I would just like.
No. Throw it out there. What's your comment?
I would just like to communicate to the developers that, yes, you might find you can get around the CCNRs.
No. You gotta.
To us.
Okay, all right.
Because that's,
Okay.
yeah, good protocol.
But I'd like to think that there's some morality in all of this. That there's commitments that we make as human beings to one another, and that there's a moral commitment here. And yes, everybody can find ways to get around their moral commitments. But just because you can doesn't mean you should.
No offense to lawyers in the audience, but that's the problem.
So I think the applicant had said that he'd share his business card, and so that would be a good ability to communicate directly with the applicant team. And for the applicant team and the public, thank you. That'll wrap it up. So we'll take a minute break to let everyone probably out, or, okay.
Brian,
ready?
they didn't vote.
Sorry, Cindy made a good point. There was no formal vote.
Do we need a formal vote? Make a motion. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aye.
Well, they need to make a motion to continue or what they want to do it.
To continue.
Yeah, I'll second.
Patrick and Amy.
Amy already seconded.
We've actually formed a development committee. Thank you guys very much.
Matters presented by board member, I heard. Okay.
Completely off the wall and ridiculous. If we have to have like pool equipment, sound studies done, and all this, who's okay with like sonic booms every third day? Like, what is going on?
So it's interesting you say that, because I heard on, was it Carpinteria, or where was I listening to it? But it came up on the Coastal Commission agenda at the meeting in Long Beach. That came up, the noise impacts, and it also came up with all of these increases in the number of launches that they want to do. They have to, right. They want to, because they have to close Halama during those launches. And so, yeah. So it was actually on the Coastal Commission's agenda. And
14th. Oh, okay, why don't you do the make the motion for both minutes?
Okay, I make a motion that we accept minutes as provided on both units.
And the second?
Okay,
Seconded?
we got Board Member Little, Board Member O'Connor, second to approve, so that would be 4-0, and the same thing for the 14th motion. And then O'Connor, second, and that will be 4-0 because we had Brad abstaining on the 29th and Amy abstaining. Okay. Matters presented by board members. Vandenberg Air Force Base, got it. No meeting on the 25th. So you're off the hook. We do, looks like we're going to have at least 3 items for the 16th. And as of right now, we've got 1 item that you'll be interested in, likely going to be the Palms concept. So the new owner came in with a different similar but different concept. So I'm going to try to get that to you on the 30th. So it'll be, hopefully that'll be May. Yeah, so hopefully everybody will be able to attend. Is there any meetings in May looking at? I know that's a little far out that anybody knows for sure. So we have on the agenda the 16th and the 30th. It's getting to that time. Okay. Well, if anybody has anything that comes up for May 16th or 30th, just let me know. And that is it, Mr. Chair.
We are adjourned, everybody.
At 8:20. Thank you, everyone.